How many of you are perfectionists and you're so worried about your art not being good enough? Having the mindset of everything needing to be perfect can inhibit you, it can make you feel defeated, and it can make you actually lose interest in even trying at all. The thought of everything needing to be perfect is frustrating, overwhelming, and it diminishes the joy that you find in art. What is perfectionism anyway? Perfectionism is not being able to accept anything short of being perfect. And how many of us can be perfect in everything, every way, all the time? None of us. So we need to find different ways that we can actually want to do the very best that we can, but accept imperfection at the same time. And finding that balance is tricky. You'll be amazed at how changing your mindset from everything needing to be perfect to being able to accept imperfection will help you. So let me show you just a few different ways that you can help making that switch with your mindset. Remember when you were a kid, you used to draw everything, and I remember drawing with a pencil or a pen. It didn't really matter. If I put the leg in the wrong place, I would just draw another one. Half the time I never erased things. I just drew what was in my mind, and I was okay with that imperfection. I didn't even know it was there, and I was willing and excited to give my drawing away. And I know a lot of kids do that. They'll draw and they'll just give their pictures away right and left, and they don't worry about everything being imperfect. So what has happened that makes us feel like we now have to go to this higher level and we can't do anything imperfect? We need to be able to accept some of those imperfections and learn how to deal with them. So there's a few things that I've discovered as I've done different types of art projects, whether it be drawing or painting or watercolor, pencil drawings, anything like that. Sometimes I have to talk to myself and I have to encourage myself in different ways. One of the very first things that I think of is when I'm drawing and I feel like something is wrong and I'm just really frustrated with it, and all I can do is think about, oh, this looks awful or that looks awful. I have to stop, I have to say it out loud, and I have to say, wow, Susie, I really like the way you blended these colors. Or I really like this hard edge here and the soft edge here. That looks really sharp. Or something like that, and give myself some positive feedback. And when I do that, what that does is it makes me stop and realize the good that I've done and helps me be able to see maybe what I can do to change that. Another thing that you can do when you're feeling frustrated and you're working on a piece is ask yourself, does it really matter? If you're working on a portrait and you're trying to create a person's face, trying to make it look like that person, of course you need to make sure that the nose is in the right place, it's the right size, the eyes are the right size, angles are all correct. You need to really, really worry about everything being in the right spot. But if you are doing like a landscape and you draw a tree and maybe the branch on the tree or the knot in the tree trunk is in a different place than where you see it, ask yourself, does it really matter? On a face, absolutely it matters. On a tree, it really doesn't matter. So pick your battles. Don't beat yourself up because something is not exactly like it is if it really doesn't matter. So that's another thing you can do to help with perfection. Another thing that you can do is ask yourself, what did I learn from this? Because if you make a mistake while you're drawing or painting and you've learned something, then it's not a mistake. You've learned something, you've gained some knowledge, and you're going to use that knowledge in future drawings or paintings. So remember that if you have learned something from some type of mistake that you've made, then it's worth it. You've got that knowledge and you'll be able to use that in the future. Sometimes one of the things that's really frustrating is we set ourselves up for failure. Maybe we don't have the skill set to do something, but we're expecting it from ourselves. If you have never drawn or painted before, you wouldn't expect yourself to be able to do something like this picture because you haven't learned anything about portrait drawing. You haven't learned anything about the features and how to draw them. But you would probably expect yourself easier to do something more like this because it's more simple. You have round shapes and you can see the shapes and they're more simple and very basic. So just like trying to learn how to do some type of a sport, if you wanted to be an Olympic athlete, you wouldn't actually just say, oh, I am one, and you would start competing, you would first have to learn how to ski. Then you would have to learn all the different tools that you need, all the different practice you would put into it before you could do it. That's the same thing with art. You need to put the practice in, and you need to be able to not expect something out of yourself if you don't have that skill set yet. So build up that skill set and expect something that is reasonable for you, and that will help you with that feeling of perfectionism when you just don't have the skill set. Another thing you can do is step away from your artwork. Sometimes when you're frustrated and you want something to just be perfect and you just can't get it, if you just step away for just a few minutes and grab some lunch or go for a walk, just do something to get yourself away from that picture. When you come back to it, you may be able to see what it is you're struggling with. And instead of getting frustrated with yourself, you can make the corrections that you need. You can do all sorts of different things to get a different perspective of it as well. Another thing that really helps with perfectionism is to accept feedback from somebody else and not be offended. It's really hard sometimes when someone says something about your hard work and kind of maybe they're not doing it so tactfully and it's offensive and you feel hurt inside. But if you can learn to understand where they're coming from and what they're seeing, they may be able to help you correct something that you couldn't do on your own. And instead of being offended by it, try to put that aside and look at it and say, okay, whatever this person was saying, even though maybe it wasn't done tactfully, what can I learn from it and what can I change to make this picture better? And try that. One of the very best things that you can do with perfectionism is try embracing it. Now that doesn't sound easy, but one of the first things that I think of that I do with my students is I have them draw with a pen instead of a pencil. Because when they're working with a pen, they can't erase it. So they have to just accept what they've drawn. And so try doing that. Try grabbing a piece of paper and try drawing something with a pen or a pencil without using an eraser. Whatever you get, that's what it is. Embrace it and accept that imperfection. And what that does for you, if you do it again and again, what that does for you, it helps you not to feel like you've got your sights set so high that you can't ever attain it, but it helps you be able to just accept things and go, it's okay. Perfectionism is something that I've struggled with a lot, and even simple things as writing a do list and leaving it on the counter. If my husband writes on the do list, I would rewrite it just because he had written on it too. So perfectionism is something that can actually enable you to do better and can help you actually strive to become a better artist, but also can inhibit you if you're not focused on improving and accepting something that's not quite perfect. I hope these tips help, and if you want to learn more from me, please check out the link in the description, and I'll see you next time.